Good morning, students. How are with everyone? Anyone have any questions? Just a reminder, we're getting near the end of the semester. The syllabus, if you look on the syllabus, the final exam is going to be on June 3rd. This is when the final exam is scheduled. Must be taken online on June 3rd. I will indicate. I will let you know of the time, but this is going to be probably maybe in 2 weeks from Wednesday. So just to give you an idea. So we're getting close to the end of the semester, right? So any questions you have, anything, please let me know. If you're missing assignment or you're missing quizzes or missing something, let me know. Send me an inbox message with what you're missing, or see me during my my online office hour for help. My online office hours are indicated on the syllabus. So if you the link is there. This is a link that will take you to my online office hour. You just click on it. And my hours are on Monday and Wednesday in the morning, 8:30 to 11, and also Saturday from 11 to 12 noon. So if you have any question, you need assistance, please see me during my online office hours. It's on the syllabus, okay? Anyone have any questions before we start? Right. Everyone can hear me, right? Right. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and gonna start with the presentation, right? And let me double check on something here. Everybody can hear me, right? All right, because I'm recording this thing, I want to make sure that everything is going to.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and today we're gonna continue with finish up chapter 4, and then we're gonna start with chapter 5. And what we did last time, we get to the point to talk talk about some GUI element, the radio buttons and checkboxes. And these are very much tied to the decision-making process because they are used for decision-making. So radio buttons are mutually exclusive, so you process them with if, else, if structures. And checkboxes are non-mutually exclusive, so you process them with multiple if and if statements. So let's go ahead and see what we mean first. Talk about that. So radio buttons are used when only one of several possible options may be selected at one time, like a car radio, where the buttons select one station at a time. So you cannot have two options selected at the same time. You most of the time you want to place it in a group box, because if you place your radio button on the form itself, they will be all mutually exclusive. And if you have two sets of mutually exclusive groups, then you want to use group boxes. So most time you place it in group boxes. The group box defines a set of radio buttons, can select only one button within a group box, but you can have multiple group boxes with separate radio buttons. So you can have multiple sets of mutually exclusive radio buttons as well. Those on a form but not inside the group box are considered members of the same group, so they will be mutually. Radio buttons have a Boolean property called check. This is an important property that we're going to use in programming. It is also available with checkboxes. What it means is that if the radio button is selected, the check property will be set to true. If it is not selected, the check property will be set to false. And there is an event change event handler, which is a check change event handler, which will be triggered when you change your radio button selection. Let's go ahead and look at an example. This is an example. We're gonna do this application, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it in a separate window application that we call Coffee Shop. We set it up last time with two group boxes, one for the drinks, which are radio buttons, coffee, tea, or soft drink, and the other one for extras, which are check boxes. All right. I named these groups. Let's go and look at the properties. We named the convention is to name radio button with a RAD prefix. So this is rad coffee. This would be rad tea, and this would be rad soft drink. And the checkbox is a prefix we use CHK. So this is CHK cream, CHK mocha, and CHK America. And the idea is we wanna when we run it, when we select a drink and the extra, we wanna program the OK button to display on the status bar, which we call LBL status, which is named LBL status. So we can uh, okay, well, we added another one by mistake. But anyway, we named that LBL status. So the idea here is LBL status. The idea is when we select a drink and an extra, it should display on the status bar. So let's go ahead and program that. The idea in here is radio button are mutually exclusive. Let me show you what I mean by mutually exclusive. When I run it, I'm going to run it right now. There's no code behind it, but you can select only one button. It will not allow you to select more than one button, right? As opposed to checkboxes, which you can select multiple buttons. Right? So this is running, which is taking a little time. All right. Right, so in this case, notice if I select coffee, when I select tea, it will select coffee. When I select soft drink, it select tea. I select only one option at a time. While this one, checkboxes are not mutually exclusive. You can select all of them. Right? So if I select these things and I say, okay, I want to display on the status bar coffee with cream, comma, mocha, comma, amaretto, and display that on the status bar. Right? So these are not program, I need to program them. Okay. So let's go ahead and double click on the OK button just to bring back the code window. All right, so basically, um, what we want to do in here, we can declare variables. We're going to declare in here, if you look, um, we need to declare a variable for the output, which is this label. So we can declare a variable for that. We don't need to declare a variable for the checkbox. So let's go and declare that. The output is going to be a string, so we're going to declare in here a string variable called str output. And always a good idea to initialize it and into string. Now, we're going to process in here, check radio buttons. But before I do that, I need to do one more thing in here. It's a good idea to select one default option radio button. All right. Yeah, it's simplified coding when you do that. I'm going to go ahead and make the coffee by default. I want to make it selected. To do that, I will go to the property window and change its check property to true. So if you look at the check property, it's false by default. I want to change that to true. And it's going to make it check. The reason for that is this will guarantee that the drink will always be selected. But we won't have a situation where the user did not select. Right? So this will guarantee that the drink is always selected. So I'm going to go to the coding window now. And because radio buttons are mutually exclusive, I have to process them with if then else if. So I will do in here if, and I will check first if the coffee radio button is checked. If that coffee dot check. Right? You don't have to say equal to true. You don't have to say equal to true because it's a Boolean variable. It can give you true or false. So there's no need for you to do true. So you can just say if that coffee checked, right? If it is checked, then we're gonna set the SDR output to equal coffee. So we'll put coffee if it is, check. Now, since they are mutually exclusive, only one drink can be selected. So you have to process them with else if. And then you do the next one. You check if T is checked. Grab T dot check. If T is checked, then we set the output to equal to T. Since we know that a radio button is going to be selected, since we by default we selected coffee, we just put else. In other words, if it is not coffee and if it is not tea, then it has to be soft pen. And this is why I selected, I made sure that the coffee radio button is selected. This will guarantee that one of these two is checked always. So this way, when if it is not coffee and it's not tea, the else it implied it's self-term. So this is your process radio button. Since I'm mutually exclusive, you process them with if else, right? So to process checkboxes, checkboxes are not mutually exclusive. So you process them with multiple if statements. Since we have three checkboxes, we need three if statements, separate if statements. So I'll do the first if statement for the cream. So I say if chk cream dot check. If it is checked, then we're gonna add, that means concatenate, to the output string, say plus equal, that means, or not plus equal, and percent equal, concatenate. Okay, add to that string, and we're gonna put comma, we'll put maybe and green. And we need another separate if statement for the other checkboxes because they're not mutually exclusive. So if chk mocha dot check. If the mocha is checked, then we add to that str output, combine it and percent equal, we'll add to that and mocha. And then we have one last one for the amaretto, so we do fchk. Okay, the spelling is not correct. Check. So if amaretto is checked, then we put str output. Concatenate with that 10% equal and so the idea in here is because checkboxes are not mutually exclusive, you use multiple if statements. So since you have three checkboxes, you have three separate if and if statements because you can select all of them. But for the radio button, because you have only one if statement with else if, but only one can be selected. Now the only things left is to display the output which is basically setting the label LPL status subtext equal to str output. Just a hint, anytime you're using status bar, anytime you have a status bar, it is a good idea, always the first thing you want to do when you enter the procedure, it's a good idea to clear it with LDL status dot text and people that interest. Just clear it in here. Because just in case if you display something that next time you come around, it will display, especially if you display error messages. If you have an error and then you correct the error, the next time you put the procedure, if you don't clear it, it's still going to display error message. So always, whenever you have a status bar, the first thing you want to do in your procedure is clear the status bar. That to display any prior messages that you have in. In this case, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that in this case because we are we're going to display every time we run this one, we're going to display something on the status bar. But it's a good idea to do it anyway. Right? So let's go ahead and run it, see how this works. All right, so we have in here copy selected by default. Let's go ahead and select P with screen, right? So it's gonna say okay, let's see P and screen. Let's say I want to select coffee. I want to put in here cream and amaretto. We're gonna say coffee and cream and amaretto. I can just say all three of them. I say coffee and cream and mocha and amaretto. And I can just say soft drink and maybe select all of that. You can say something. So it does work with all the time. Yeah. The key in here is because you can get only one drink, you will use it if else if, but because you can have all of these, you have to use multiple statements, clear statements, to be allowed to multiply. This is basically the idea of using radio buttons. The key thing property to remember is the check event property. Check property, which can be true if the item is checked and false if it is not. Right? Let's go ahead and let's see. I want to add a clear to. We'll do that. We'll do that with the other application. This is basically. Let's go ahead and go to this one. So this is how we process the radio buttons because they're mutually exclusive. You process them with else if, else if, else if. Checkboxes, on the other hand, they are not mutually exclusive. Unlike radio button, you can select many checkboxes at one time. May also be placed in a group box. They are not limited to one selection within a group box. You can select as many checkboxes as you like within the same group box. Checkboxes also have the check property and the check change property. So it detects the event when you change the event. The example here tutorial 49 is what I just did. And this is the idea in here because checkboxes are not mutually exclusive. You process them with multiple if statements. One if statement for each checkbox. This is the main difference. Directly tied to decision making, right? Radio button with if, else, if structures, and checkboxes with if and if. Anyone have any questions? The last thing we're going to do is we're going to do one big example, and this example is going to look something like this. I'm done with this thing. I want to close this one. And the one we're going to create a form for membership fee calculator that looks something like this, right? So we have in here basically a different membership type, adult membership, child, student, or senior citizen with options. You can have karate, yoga, personal trainer. And you have a subscription for a specific number of months and monthly fees. We can calculate the monthly fee and the total fee, right? There's some rules about the charges. Let's go ahead and look at these charges. I'm going to go ahead and go to the PowerPoint presentation. Um, I just want to list the charges in here. These are the charges for adult. The base charge is $40. For children, $20 the base charge, monthly charge. For student, $25, and for senior citizens, $30. So these are the base charges. Now the extras for the karate, yoga, and personal trainer. You add $10 for yoga, $30 for karate, and $50 for personal trainer. So these all we're going to define them as constant later on. So, but anyway, these are things to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and go to the form that we designed this in. So we're going to add in here 4 radio buttons for the membership and 3 checkboxes. This is the form. We already created the whole thing except I didn't put the radio button in checkboxes. Let's go ahead and do that. To add the radio button, it's simply go to the radio control in the toolbox, letter R, and radio button 1, 2, 3, 4. If they're not aligned, you can easily, not equally spaced, you can select them and go to the format menu, and from there select the vertical spacing and make it equal. And this can equal spacing. Right, so we have that. Let's go ahead and change the labels. What I'm going to do in here, I'm going to use, if you notice, I'm using underscore and rad. You see it in here, there's underscoring character. This is to enable hotkey control, so you can use Alt-A to select adult or Alt-B to select child. Let's say for student, let's use Alt-S for student. Okay, so we're gonna, when you type it, you have to put % before the A, % before the B to get that into as a hotkey. So let's go ahead and select the first one. Go to text property. This is gonna be in here standard. Adult. I need to put % before the A to make it a hotkey. And this one is going to be child, and I'm going to make the D a hotkey. This one is going to be student, and the S is going to be a hotkey. And this is going to be senior, and the E is going to be the hotkey. Okay, it's all are missing. Right, let's add options. So here we have checkboxes. We need to add 3 checkboxes. The first one is going to be yoga with a Y being the hotkey. And second one is karate with K being the hotkey. And third one is personal trainer with P being the hotkey. But I can make them equally spaced. And this size this one. And we have in here, this one is we're going to name them. Let's go and name the control. The convention is to name the radio button with the prefix RAD. So it can be RAD, adult. And this is RAD, child. And this one RAD, student. And this one RADC. Now, I want to select the adult radio button by default, so I want to set it check property to it. So we can see that a radio button is always checked. Now, this one, the convention is to name checkboxes with the prefix CHK. This is CHK yoga. CHK karate. CHK check. This one is the textbooks, TFC monsters. And these are labels. LDL monster T. And LDL token. And calculate. And clear. And all right, so we're ready to program that. Let's go ahead and program the calculate button. All right, first we're gonna define the concept, all right? The membership fees can change, so it's a good idea to declare them as constant. So we declare them global. Constant, good idea to declare them globally as a class level variable. So we declare them like we declare variable, but I said using them UC on ST. So when we declare constant, and these are gonna be, let's make them double PBL. The first one, we're gonna call it for the adult fee, double, and we're gonna set it to 40. We're using these basically these fees, $40 for adult, 20 for children, 25 for student, and 30 for senior. BBL child. So these are the fees for membership, the monthly fees. You have also the fees for the extras, which are basically $10 for yoga, $30 for karate, and $50 for training. These are also constant. So these define our concepts. A good idea to declare them globally directly after the class header. So if they change in the future, if you want to charge more or less for the different things, you change them in one place at the beginning of your program. Always declare them as constant class level. Now we're ready to write the program in here. All right. So basically, we wanna um, get the input and we're gonna do validations. Okay. And we learn about two ways of validating. We'll first talk about validating using the try parse method, and we talk about validating using try catch method. Now, the rule is this: if the author doesn't ask you to use specific method, you can use any method you like. And personally, I like the try catch method, so I'm gonna use that. There's one rule, however, that we're gonna keep in mind. The rule that we're gonna keep in mind in here is that the membership links is limited to up to 24 months. So we cannot allow anything, any membership less than uh, more than two years. So if there's more than 24 months, the links we're not gonna accept that as entry. So let's go ahead and declare variables. You can declare in here variables based on the form, right? Each input and each output you declare a variable. So you don't have to worry about the radio button and checkboxes. You have to worry about the text boxes and the label for output. So these three values. Monsters is an integer, and the fees are double. So we have three variables that we need to do. So let's go and declare them. So we have them uh, first int monsters as integer, then dbl monster fee as double, then dbl total as double. So this is your variable, and then you can use a try catch, right, for input, and you can do one or you can do two, depending on if you want to do customized error trapping or if you want to do generic error trapping. Let's go and do customized error trapping. So I'm gonna try first to get the um, uh, the months. Input the months. Now, if you fail, you put a message box. Let's put it on the status bar. So I want to put the status bar. There's the error message on the status bar. So to do that, you would look for um, status status script, drag that to the bottom, and just gonna put the status bar on it. Then select it on the pull down menu and select status label. I'm just gonna put in here a label with a tool script status label one as name and as text. We don't like that, so we're gonna go ahead and change the property. The text we're gonna delete. We don't want this text, and the label we're gonna change to LBL status. So this is what we're gonna display on the text bar, LBL status. Okay, so let's get called idea status. Since we're using a status label to display error message, it is very important to to clear it at the beginning of your procedure. So the first thing you want to do in here at the beginning here is you want to clear the status with the status bar. Clear the status bar by saying LBL status dot text equal to anything. Always, if you're using status bar, the first thing you want to do in your code, clear it out, because otherwise, when you run it again, it's still going to display the error message from the previous run, which you don't want, right? So in here, if you have an error in inputting the, so the first thing you want to try to input the first field, which is int months. And since it's an integer, use a C int txt months dot text. Try to convert it to a text. If it fails, it can throw it to the catch block, and in the catch block, you simply put LBL status dot text, and you display an error message. Enter numbers, integers, or months, or enter an integer between 1 and 24 for months. Right. So I'm going to say enter an integer between 1 and 24 for the months. If it doesn't, if it succeeds, then you try to input the what's the next input? It's only one. Is it? It's only one input you have. Okay, so you don't have to nest it there. So it's only one input. So you need only one factor. Now, if you have an error in here, you may want to put the focus. Put the focus on txt months. And you want to select all the text in txt months. So if there's an error, just gonna select the text so you can correct the error. Now, getting this correctly doesn't guarantee that the number of months is correct. It guarantees that the number of months is an integer. But the user may have entered -1 or -10, which is still an invalid month. Now, Visual Basic is not going to be able to detect that -10 is incorrect. This is a business rule that you have to validate. The rule in here that we have to validate is we have to make sure that the months in here, months must be between 1 and 24. This is range check. This is input validation. Months must be between 1 and 24. The rule how to validate if it is within a range is to use an if statement, and you would use in here if basically use int months greater or equal than the lower limit. The lower limit is 1, and int months less or equal the upper limit, which is 24. Right? If it is within this range, that means it's a valid value. Then you can do processing, right? Else, if it is not in this range, then you're going to display our message, LBL status dot text equal. And you can copy this one. Enter an integer between 1 and 24 for the month, right? So this way it will catch that, right? And then we can do the processing. If it is between 1 and 24, then we're ready to go, right? So we're gonna process radio button. And remember, process radio button with if, else, if, so. So here we say if, we check in here. If rad adult, if it is that checked, if the adult membership is checked, then we can set the DBL um, DBL monthly fee DBL monthly fee is going to equal to the D to DBL adult DBL adult fee. Else, if we check if the child button is checked. If it is checked, then we set the DBL monthly fee to equal to DBL child. Else, to check if the student radio, if rad student is checked. If the student radio button is checked, then we set the monthly fee to equal to DBL student. Else, if it is not adult, if it's not child, if it's not student, then it is seniors. We set the DBL monthly fee to equal to DBL student. And these are the constants that we defined earlier, right? This is how you process the radio button. They are mutually exclusive. We process them with one if, else, if statement. Now we're going to process checkboxes. These are non-mutually exclusive, so you have multiple if statements. So for each checkbox, you have one if statement. So we have if, we're going to check first if the yoga is checked, THK yoga. If yoga is checked, then we're going to add to the monthly fee. So plus equal. You're going to add to the monthly fee DBL yoga. Right, and then you have another if statement for all the options. So you have another if statement for the karate. So if karate is checked, you would add to the monthly fee. DBL karate. And finally, you check if you have the personal trainer. So personal trainer is checked, then we add to the monthly fee DBL training. All right, so this will give you the monthly fee. Finally, you can compute the total fee, which is going to equal DBL total fee. Total is going to equal to the master fee times the number of masters. And we're going to display the output. And the output in here is going to be LDL status, or actually LDL master fee, that tax equal DBL master fee dot toString. We're going to format that as currency, and LDL total dot tax equal DBL total dot toString. Format that as currency. And this is basically should display give you the output here. Okay, let's go ahead and run it. Very important once you write your program to test your program for all kind of errors. Right? So we're going to test the program first. Select adult membership with yoga karate. Right? I want to enter an invalid value for the month. If I enter -1, this is going to be, if I enter invalid character, this is going to be called by the try-catch block. This, what's going to catch this one is a try-catch block. And it's going to display enter an integer between 1 and 24. Now, if you enter -10, right, this is try-catch block is not going to catch this error, right? So if you enter -10, it's going to convert it to integer because -10 is an integer. What's going to catch it is this one. The if statement can catch it. This is business rule. It's outside the range 1 to 24. The if statement is going to catch it. It's going to throw it to the else clause and display enter an integer between 1 to 24. So even so we're going to get the same error message, it's important to realize that this is called by the if statement, not by the try-catch. We're going to tell you here enter an integer between 1 and 24. Let's enter in here the valid value. If I enter 25, okay, it's not valid. It's still enter an integer between 1 and 24. Let's enter a 24. It's good to check. You need to check at the boundary. The boundary you check at 1. 1 is a valid value because it's between 1 and 24. It gives you 130 and 130. Let's verify if this is correct. So adult membership is 40, and this is in here yoga is 10, karate is 30, another 40, $80, plus $50 for trainers. 80 plus 50 is 130, which is correct. 1 month is 134. Let's check down the upper bound. Right? I'm going to check in here. Well, first thing we want to check it with easy number to calculate, 10. So it's going to give you 1,300, which is 10 times 130 is 1,300, which is correct. Let's try now the upper bound, 24. Right? It does work. So all it's your responsibility as a programmer to test that the program works at the boundary. At 1, it works at 24. And if you put an invalid value outside the range, it works. You have to test it. You have to make sure it works. Right? Now we haven't cleared this one, so let's go ahead and program this one to clear it. We already know how to clear text boxes and labels. Now, how do you clear radio button checkboxes? Very simple to do. Let's go ahead and program that. So I'm going to do in here, select the BT and clear button. And select the click event. Okay, I'm just going to give you this thing. So when I clear in here, clear text boxes, and one of them, which is txt monsters dot clear. Use a clear method with text boxes. Labels, you cannot use a clear method. You have to set the text property. So LDL monster fee.text equal to empty string LDL total dot text equal to empty string. Now to clear, need to clear radio buttons or reset radio buttons. We're not gonna clear them because I wanna always to select the adult membership. To reset it, all what you have to do is you set rad adult that check equal to 2. So no matter what has been checked, it will check again the adult membership. Let's in here clear checkboxes. In this case, you have to put one for each checkbox. CHK adult or karate that check equal false. CHK yoga that check equal false. CHK trainer that check equal false. So by setting that, it will clear them all. So CHK that down. So it should work. If you run it, it should work. And this is basically the chapter 4, which is decision making. Now, very important, when you get to chapter 4, it is possible that your program will not run and produce a correct result, and it's going to become more important when you get to chapter 5 because you can have more complex code. And anytime your program doesn't run, what I advise is this, right? Instead of sitting and not knowing what to do, I advise always to put a break near the beginning of the code if you like. Click on this margin to see area. Click once to put a breakpoint. This means that when you run it, you want your instructing Visual Basic to stop when it reaches certain so you can examine the content. And when you run it now, if you click on run, you can check what's going on as your program runs. And this is very important technique you have to use. I mean, in other words, as a programming, you have to figure out your error. You don't just say, okay, I cannot figure it out. You can easily figure it out with a debugger. The debugger will tell you where the error is. Simply put a breakdown. And what's going to happen, now it's still compiling, is going to stop when you reach this point, and then you can examine to see where the error is. So I'm going to select in here, I want to select all checkboxes, and I select in here student membership. I want to select for months. Let's put in here an invalid value. This is going to be caught by the try block. Let's verify that it's being caught by the try block once you calculate. It's going to stop at this point, all right? Now, you can, if you like, examine values. You can right-click on you can select control like this thing. You can select it, and then right-click on it. So it's kind of slow. Okay. And then from there, select add watch. When you add watch, it's going to add it to the watch window, and it's going to tell you the content of that sheet, which is garbage right now. Right? And you can add it watch for the ink master if you like. You can right click on it and select add watch. And you can display ink master 0 right now because that's the doesn't have anything right now. And then you can step through the code by clicking on the step over this button. When you click on step over, it's going to execute this statement, which is going to clear the status bar, right? And then you click on step over, it's going to go to the line 20. Now the next one is going to try to convert txt months, which would have this garbage, not non-numeric garbage. We're going to try to convert to an integer. It's going to fail, of course. And we're going to verify that we're going to go jump from 20 to the try block. Let's verify that. Click on step over. When you step over, it jumps to the catch block, right? Because it failed. It wasn't able to convert this alphanumeric, this alphabetic character to number. So go to line 59 to execute the catch block. And the computer is going to display enter into between 1 and 20. It's going to display it on the status line. It's going to get to focus on the txt mouse. It's going to select all the tags. And we click to the end of the procedure. You're going to see it's highlighted this one. So we know how we get here. Let's enter now -10. Right? And it's verified that this is going to be called by the if statement, not the try catch block. And as you calculate, okay, it's going to go again. And is going to try to execute this thing. It's starting from the beginning because you're in debug mode right now. It's going to do ideal status. Okay, you're going to do the try block. It's going to convert now, try to convert the text to an integer. Right now, notice int months is 0 right now. When I do step over, int months is -10. To change to -10, which is valid. So the try block did not catch this error because -10 is an integer. There's nothing wrong with this conversion statement. So try block will not be able to catch that. What's going to catch it is your if statement. This is a business rule. It's going to fail to fall between 1 and 24, which is a business rule. It's going to throw it to the else clause. When I do step over, you're going to throw it to the else clause, and the else clause now is going to display alphabetic between -1, between 1 and 24. So it can display that in the status bar, and it's going to end the subject. It's going to go there, but it was caught by the if statement, not the try catch. Let's go ahead and to make it. So always, if you have a problem and your program doesn't run, you need to find what's happening. Put a breakpoint and display add watch values in the watch window so you can see what's going on. So it's very, very useful for you, especially when you get to chapter 5, you're going to need it even more. But let's go ahead and let's save this one. And we're ready to start with chapter 5. So we're going to go ahead and start with chapter 5 today. We're not going to cover much, but we will start with that. And close this window. And we're going to go with chapter 5. Chapter 5 talk about loops, which is another important control structure. We said that basically any program you can write in terms of suite control structure, sequential structure, which executes statement one after the other, decision structure, which is what we cover in chapter 4 using if statement, right? And the last one is a loop structure, which repeats multiple times. But before we start talking with you about loops, we're going to talk about lists and other things, because lists provide you mean to display multiple outputs. Whenever you're generating a huge amount of output, you're not going to be able to display them in text box. Instead, you're going to use a list to display these. So let's talk about lists and lists. First, we're going to talk about input boxes. This is another way to allow you to enter data. It provides a quick way to enter data. Then we're going to talk about list box. That's what we're going to talk about today, input box and list box. We'll start about loops on So an input box provides a quick and simple way to ask the user to enter data, right? So in this case, it can create a pop-up window like this one, with similar to the message box, but except it gives you more like a input area where you can enter data. When you click on OK, the input box is going to return the value you entered in the input area. The OK button will return a string value containing the user input. You still have to convert that with function like CINT or CBDL. And cancel will return an input. Here's the syntax. You have input box. You have one required parameter, which is the prompt, which is a message that you want to display in the input box. And you have two optional parameters. The title, which is what you're going to display on the title bar, and the default value, which what you're going to display on the input area. Right? So default values you put in brackets. So this is default title and default value. Let's look at the best way to see that is through an example. Right? So in this case, you have the statement we're saying in here, declaring a basically we're declaring string variable user input, and we assigning the input box value. It's going to put the prompt is enter the distance, which can be displayed in here. The second parameter is a title. Title is going to be on the title bar, provided value. And the third parameter, 150, is the default value can display in the input bar. Now you can this on OK to accept the default value 150, or you can type over it to put something else. But we're going to be using this one a lot in loops, because with loops, as the name implies, you're going to repeat things multiple times. For example, if you're going to average the test score of 20 students, you have to ask for 20 test scores. So it's not going to be practical to put 20 text boxes. So what you're going to do is you're going to use input box inside the loop to create this pop-up window to affect the input. So in a sense, input boxes are similar to message boxes, but it allows you to enter. We're going to get to that on Wednesday when we do example. You see how to use it. What we're going to talk about today is list boxes. This is important because list box is going to be the mean of output, right? So when we're using loops, we're going to do the input using input boxes, and we're going to do the output using list boxes. But what is a list box, all right? A list box is something like this. It's an area that allows you to display multiple items. If the items fit in the container, you're not going to see a scroll bar. If the item don't fit in the container, you're going to see a scroll bar. So when you create that in Visual Studio, it's very easy. You add a list box control. I'm going to go ahead and create, start a new project. I'm going to close this one. Close solution. I'm going to create a new project. I always select in here Visual Basic project. I'm going to put that in a new folder. I'll create a new folder for chapter 5 called 3D5. Select folder. I want to call this one list box. List box demo. Okay. We're going to create a blank one. To add a list box, very simply, you would look for the list box control on the toolbox. And here it is. I can double click it to add it. I'm going to add two list boxes. Okay, 1 and 2. The first one I want to put, I can name them. Convention is to name list box with LST details. The first one is going to be the years. So I'll put LST year. And the second one is going to be the months. I'm going to call it LST months. Actually, yeah, here. So I can put the year in here. I can. The way you can add item is simply you select the list box, and you would go to there is a collection property here, items. Like remember in here, list box can hold more than one item. So it's a term we usually call in computer science a collection. So list box is a collection because it can store multiple items. So I select the items property, click on the three ellipses button, and then I can put one item per line. So this is the year I'm going to put in here, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018, and 2020. And say okay. It's gonna list them. Now if they fit in the container, they're gonna list, you're not gonna see scroll bar. Now the months is not gonna fit. We're gonna put 12 months in here, so they're not gonna fit there. So again, I can go to the items collection, click on the three ellipses button. I can put the months January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So we have 12 values in here. So they're not gonna fit in this box, but let's see what's gonna happen. You're gonna see that it adds a scroll bar, right? So in a sense, let's go ahead and run it to see what's happening. And you will see that you can scroll, you'll be able to scroll the scroll bar to pick up months of July, right? So here I can select, if I want, I can select 2020 for the year. And I can scroll and pick up maybe December, right? But you can select only one. It's a collection that allows you to select one. If you want, you can. There's a property called that allows you to select more than one item, but by default, you can select only one item. And this is basically like that. I wanna program it. Let's add a status bar in here. Let's increase the font, the size. So we have this thing, and we're going to put the button. We'll add a status bar, status script. So I'll go to status script, drag that and drop it at the bottom. The status bar from the pull down menu, select status label. Delete the text in here for this text and change the name to LDR status. The idea is when I select something, I want to display it in basically maybe March 2020 or whatever it is. Okay, so I understand the status bar. So we need to program that later on. Okay. But let's go on first talk about the property of a list box, then we talk about how we program it. So a list box, basically you can easily create that on the using the toolbox by double clicking on the list box control and then changing the items properties to provide values. The convention is to name them with LSD. The items property is a collection which allow you to enter multiple value in the list box. The entries in the list box are stored in the property named item. The item property holds an entire list of value from which the user may choose. The list of values may be established at design time or at runtime. At design, at design time, simply you would click on the items collection three ellipses button and you can enter them one per line. Right? Items are stored in a collection called items collection. Um, to add an item at design mode, you simply click on the items collection, click on the three ellipses, and it's going to give you the string collection editor. And then you can enter one value per line. Like we enter the months, one per line, to do it like that. It's called the string collection editor that allows you to enter the design at design time. Now, to find out how many items you have in the list, you would use a item counts property. The item counts property will tell you how many items you have, right? For example, if you look at the list in here, for the years, the item count is 5 because we have 5 years, right? But for the months, the items count is 12 because we have 12 months, right? So this is what. Now you can use it in an if statement. So you can say if LSC employee.item.count equals 0, then we can say there's no item in the list, right? Or you can assign it to an integer variable. So we can see LSC employee.item.count, assign that to int number. Very important here is the first item on the list start at 0. So here when you look at this thing, 2012 start at 0. It's item 0, right? Let's give it a name. This is LST year. So this is LST year dot items of 0, right? Um, the 2020 is not item 5, but is item 4. Basically, the number of item 5 minus 1, so item 4. And similarly, January is going to be at index 0, right? The first item is 0, not 1. And December is going to be at index 11. So keep that in mind. So here, when you say here, if you want to get the third customer, right? You say LST customers that item of 2, not item of 3, because the first item is at 0, not at 1. It'll give you the third item. And if you want the first item, use index of 0. So always keep in mind the first item is at index 0, not at index 1. So this is one common mistake that you do. The first item has an index of 0. So the items property value can be accessed from Visual Basic Code by using an index. Each item value is given a sequential index. The first item is at index 0, the second item at index 1, etc. When assigning an item to a variable, you must explicitly convert the item to the same data type as the value. So if you want to use that toString or convert it using CLNT to convert an integer or whatever conversion function you use. Right, so you can handle exceptions if you try to access an out of range item. For example, what would happen if I try to access months at index 13? We don't have months at index 13. We have only 12 months. The first month, January, is at index 0. The last month, December, is at index 11. So what would happen if you try to put index at 13? It's going to throw an exception, meaning that you are out of range. And you can catch this exception using the try catch block. You can say try str input lst months.items index, and then you can say catch the exception. Then you can display the exception message. So this is one good thing you can handle it with the try catch block as we learned before. Some programmers like to use an if statement, but I prefer to use the try catch because this is designed for that purpose. Whenever you have an exception, the try will handle it, forward to the catch block, and then you catch it in one. Right? It's better to use a try catch block. But if you handle it using if statement, you can. This is how you handle it with an if statement. You check if the index is between 0 and the number of items, less 9 item minus 1, that means equal to 0 and less than, item counts, then you're valid. You have a valid input. Otherwise, I'll also display an error message, and that's the other thing. It's very important to keep that in mind. It's your responsibility as a programmer to verify that the input is valid, that the index is a valid index. And if it is not, to handle it either with a try catch plot or with an if statement. Now, the question is, how do we display what we selected, right? There's a property called selected index. Selected index will tell you the index number of the item you selected. So, for example, if I'm running this one, right, and if I select January, then the selected index will be 0 because this is the first item, right? So if I run it, and if I select December, so I select January, it's going to give me the selected index for this LSC month, so it's going to be 0, right? And if I select in December, selected index is going to be 11, to tell you what it is. Right? You can display specific item by using the items property. So let's go and program this button and see how we can display. I'm going to show you first how you can display items in this. Right? You can, for example, you can do, if I want, I can do LSD months dot items, and I can say in here. Today, we are in May, so I can say May would be index 4, right? Remember, January is 0, not 1. So May is at 4. So we can display May, right? And let's say I want to display that in the output. So I want to say LSD status dot text. I can set it equal to LSD months items that 4, convert that to string, right? And then combine that maybe with a space, and combine that with, let's say, year, LSD year dot item. And I can specify in here, let's say we want 2020, which is the 5th item, which will be at index 4. Remember, 2012 at index 0, 2020 is index 4. So I can say in here 4. And I can say that to string. So I can do that, and it's going to display on the status bar, it's going to display May space 2020. This is LBL status. Let's go ahead and run it to verify that it does do that. Say okay in here, you can say May 2020 because that's what I'm doing in here. Give me the fifth item in the month list, which can be May, and give me the 5th item in the year, which can be 2020. But what if I select in here 2014 and I select April? It should say April 2014, not May 2020, because it's not going to work obviously. Right? So how do we fix that? Right? Fix that, you can simply use the selected index. Right? You can declare in here an integer and put it in here selected index. Okay, we have to say them. I'm used to C++, we do the type first, then select index as integer. And let's do in here, then selected. Okay. And then we can do in here, you can say selected index. We can set it equal to LST. Let's say selected Um, let's call it months index. So months index. And let's define another 1 year index. I can say in here months index. Let's say equal to LST months dot selected index. You can tell me what I have selected, and I can say in here year index to equal LST year that selected index. And then instead of using for in here, I can use selected, I can use in here months index. Instead of for in here, I can use year index. So this way, no matter what I select, it's going to pick up the right months and the right year based on what I select. Right? And these are set by the selected index. The selected index property will tell you what number, what index I selected. Right? Let's go ahead and run and see how this works. So I can select in here 2016 and select February, February 2016. And I can select in here April 2020, let's say April 2020. So you can select and you can do that. The reason is because selected index, it can tell me the first time, this one can tell me that the selected index 3 for April. So months index will be 3. And this is going to give me months index 4 for the year. Year index is going to be 4. And we can do that. So you can use these selected index property to tell you which item is selected. Now, if you haven't selected any item, a selected index will be -1. So if you don't select any item, it's going to give you -1. There is an easier way to do that. As I do selected index, you can simply say selected item. Selected item will give you directly the item you selected. So if I want to, if I don't want to use index, I can say in here LSC months items. I can say LSC months that selected item. And this will give you basically what you selected. You don't have to use an index there. I can see in here selected item. And you don't need anymore to declare the thing anymore. So it's more convenient. You can say selected item is going to give you whatever item is selected. And I can select anything from the list and it should display fine. So I'm selecting here again 2014, June, maybe June 2015, July 2020, July 2020. So it goes back. The only problem with this one, you have to be careful because if you don't select anything, right? So if I run it again, I don't select anything like this, right? There's no selected item to display, and it's going to give you, it's going to throw up an exception. Because an exception program is going to blow up in the page. So that's why if you want to use this method, you have to use an if statement to make sure that the selected index is not -1. Like this one, you can say if LFC item that's selected here is not -1, then you can display the selected item. So keep that in mind. We'll talk more about other property of the list of properties. So we'll continue with that on Wednesday, and we'll start with list on Wednesday. All right, that's all what I have. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then I will take any questions that you have.